Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, all our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang yourself a star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Well, I kind of botched that one line. I think I started too high and couldn't reach the top of the ladder when I got there. So anyway, as you all know, that's the lovely Christmas carol, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. But how many of you know the story behind it? Well, if you don't, you're going to find out. Oh, that heat from that LCD fire is just getting to me here. Alrighty, let's have a look at this. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And this is going out today as a kind of Christmas card greeting to a lovely couple who happen to live in St. Louis, Missouri, or nearby to there anyway. Kate and Matt of Happy Trails Hiking. If you haven't checked their channel out, you should do so. They just do an absolutely fantastic job of sort of travel documentaries. Very, very professional, very articulate in their speech, and yeah, just check them out. Happy Trails Hiking. Alrighty, let's get into our story. During Hollywood's golden era, the movie studios kept the songwriting team of Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine busy. The men worked together and separately on such classic musicals as Girl Crazy, Broadway Rhythm, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, as well as scores of other successful presentations. The men also wrote tunes for Broadway and radio that were sung by the likes of Lucille Ball, June Ellison, Lena Horne, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, and Ann Miller. Even though they won many awards and were responsible for millions of record sales, these Hall of Fame writers penned their most beloved hit when MGM asked them to write the music for Meet Me in St. Louis. Yet it would take the insight and help of an entertainment legend to put the finishing touches on what would become a timeless holiday offering. Filmed toward the end of World War II, Meet Me in St. Louis starred some of the brightest names at MGM. Mary Astor, Leon Ames, June Lockhart, and Margaret O'Brien were all on the bill and helped make this motion picture one of the finest musicals ever produced. But the movie ultimately belonged to a 22-year-old screen veteran who 5 years before had charmed everyone as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. While she was one of Hollywood's top box office draws, Judy Garland needed a strong film to help her overcome the juvenile image created by her role in The Wizard of Oz, and a long line of teen musicals that had teamed her up with Mickey Rooney. To be recognized as a serious actress, she had to have a part that would allow her to shift from child star to legitimate adult actor. Meet Me in St. Louis provided the vehicle Garland needed to take her career over the rainbow and onto solid ground. It was Judy's own instincts and sincere voice that made one moment in the film an unforgettable holiday gift that still touches people today. For one of the film's key scenes, Judy's character, Esther, was to sing a song to her sad little sister, Tootie. The younger girl was worried that when her family moved to New York from Missouri, Santa would not be able to find her. Esther was concerned as well, but not about St. Nick. She had just fallen in love and realized the family's move would end her cherished relationship before it even got started. Though the scene was set on a beautiful Christmas Eve night, both sisters felt they were facing the end of the world. Looking out over a snow-covered lawn from an upstairs window, Judy's character wound a music box and began to sing. The songwriters felt that to make the most of the film's suddenly tender and sad atmosphere, they needed a song that was full of irony and pain. So at the beginning of the song, the men penned, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas. May it be your last. Next year we will be living in the past." Thinking they had written a perfect song for this touching and tragic moment in the film, Blaine and Martin were probably shocked when Judy Garland refused to sing their "Have a Merry Little Christmas." She sent the song back to the writers, demanding that they put a more positive spin on the number. Judy's desires were backed by the film's director and her future husband, Vincente Minnelli. Unable to convince either of those powers that their instincts were right, Blaine and Martin went back to work. Even though Blaine and Martin had guessed right about the needs of the movie, Garland had better instinct for what the country needed at that moment in history. During much of the past 3 years, Judy had spent every spare moment entertaining American troops. She had visited with the young men, sung for them, and read the fan mail they had written to her. She knew that most of them were young men her age who had spent years fighting for their lives, defending a nation. What these men wanted, more than anything else, was to somehow live through the war and come back home. They wanted, needed to believe that there was a lot of life left in front of them. As she entertained the GIs, Garland discovered that her biggest hit, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, had a much deeper meaning for the men than it did for the casual listener. For millions on the battle lines, Over the Rainbow meant coming home. Judy felt the new Christmas song that would be part of Meet Me in St. Louis needed to bring the same kind of hope as Somewhere Over the Rainbow did. By request, Blaine and Martin obligingly wrote a far more upbeat new opening. There was an obvious encouraging tone to it. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. That presented the kind of message Garland felt America needed. Judy embraced the revised Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas with a passion and emotion that few could understand. This wasn't just another song to Garland. It was a prayer for the millions wanting nothing more than to be home for Christmas. It was the new version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas that listeners in the United States and overseas could believe, and through that felt that the war would almost soon be over. Families would be reunited, and that the promised joy that had been part of Christmases past would soon be here again. As moving as Judy's performance of the song in the film was, the Decca single that was released for Christmas of 1944 was just as touching. Garland's rich voice revealed the full range of emotions found in the song's lyrics. In an era when Christmas songs seemed to mean more than they ever had before, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was one of the best. When Judy sang it to the soldiers at the Hollywood canteen, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. When the battle-weary men in Europe and the Pacific heard it, they clung to the song as if their dreams were carried on each word and tune. For the next 25 years of her often troubled life, Judy Garland seemed to always come alive during Christmas. The holiday somehow renewed the star. It was almost as if singing her signature Christmas standard gave her the gift of new vision and hope, just as the song did for millions of others who felt lonely and sad during the holiday season. They say that timing is everything. If the original version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas would have worked in the Meet Me in St. Louis film, it probably wouldn't have jumped off the screen and taken on a life of its own. But thanks to the instincts of Judy Garland, the song became far more than a moment in a film. It became a timeless, emotional statement about what we all want to have each year: a merry little Christmas and hope for tomorrow. So there you have the story behind Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Now, if you watch my Show Us Your Steak challenge, at the beginning of that, when I was getting the steak out of the freezer, I promised I would tell you a story. And I sort of in the back of my wee little pea brain back here somewhere, I think that's that little lump under the hat back there, I think I may have told this one before. So if I have, you don't have to groan as loud. All right? Okay. Well, there was a lady, we'll call her Martha. And Martha was a devout Christian lady, very active in her church. She was in her early 80s. Loved life, loved other people, enjoyed everything, but was very prim and proper. And she was friends with almost everyone in her church, including a young man and his wife who owned a pet store. Well, the more Mildred thought about it, the more she decided she wanted to have a pet. And so she talked to her landlord, and he said, well, no dogs or cats, but a bird or birds or fish, that's fine. Well, she was a little disappointed because she kind of had her heart set on a kitten, but can't have everything. So she thought about her options and decided, well, fish are pretty and they're nice, but just can't interact with them like you can other animals. So she decided to go for a bird. So she started doing her research. She went to the public library. She wasn't into the modern age of computers and Googling and all that. She still liked the old-fashioned way of putting her hands on a good old book. So she went to the library, did her research, and decided the best kind of bird for her was a parrot. So she went down to the pet store that her friends from church owned, and she told Dave, the husband, that she wanted to get a bird, and she decided on a parrot. And Dave said, oh, Mildred, I'm so sorry. He says, I don't have any in stock right now. Well, he says, that's not totally true. I do have one in the back. I keep him in the office, but I couldn't in good conscience sell him to you. And she goes, well, why not? Is he your own pet? No, just no, you wouldn't want that bird. Well, Dave, let me see him, she says. Oh, Mildred, no, I honestly, why? What is the problem? He says, well, he used to belong to a sailor, and he said he talks like one. She says, well, what's wrong with that? Shiver me timbers, ahoy! How are you, matey? And he goes, no, not that kind of sailor talk, more like the kind that you wouldn't repeat in mixed company. This bird must know every foul word in about 6 languages. And he just strings them all together and they come out, and it even makes me blush at times, he said. Mildred says, well, show him to me. Really? Yeah, I want to see him. Oh, Mildred, I don't know. Dave, show him to me. All right, come with me. So he takes her back through the store and into the back to the office. And here in the corner is this big cage and this gorgeous parrot, just beautiful parrot sitting there. But as soon as it sees him walk in the office, well, how the blah, 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 you know, in the cartoons they put question marks and asterisks and pound signs and all that. Well, that's what came out, just a string of profanity. And Dave blushed even more than he normally would have, because here's Mildred standing there. But Mildred doesn't bat an eye. And Dave says, see what I mean? I couldn't sell him to you. She goes, no, I want him. Dave goes, what? No. Didn't you hear what he just... Not a problem. I want him. Mildred, you know, I would feel guilty selling him to you. I want him. You want that in your house? I am a good Christian lady, and I believe in Christian love and charity. And I am convinced that if I show this bird the right love and compassion and share my faith with him, because Jesus said, go into the world and share the good news with all creatures, that I can change him. I can make him a better bird. Dave says, are you sure? I'm sure, she says. Well, all right. He says, how are you going to get him? Well, I don't have a way. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll deliver him on my way home tonight. I'll throw in the cage and the cover and everything you need for free, because it all came with him anyway, so not a problem. She says, that'd be great. Well, that evening, she's barely finished eating her dinner, and the doorbell rings. And here's Dave with the parrot and the big cage and everything else. And, okay, where do you want him? And she's made a spot in the corner of her living room. She says, just set it all up there. So he does. He says, well, there you go. He says, but he's quiet now. But he says, the minute you pull the cover off, he's probably going to start in. He goes, don't you worry about that. I'll take care of him. And he says, well, if you're sure. If you change your mind, Mildred, he says, you know, he says, I know you. And he says, if you change your mind, you bring him back, and I'll give you your money back. No questions asked. She says, don't you worry about it. So they say goodbye, and off he goes. Well, after Dave has left and she shut the door, she marches over to the cage, and she pulls the cover off, and the parrot looks at her, and out comes another string of profanity. She whips open the door of the cage, she reaches in, she grabs him by the neck, pulls him out, and holds him right in front of her face. And she said, now you listen here, you little monkey. I will not put up with that kind of language in my house. If I hear one more foul word out of you, it's 10 minutes in the freezer. And she puts him back in the cage and closes the door, and the parrot's just sitting there looking at her like, well, this parrot has a little bit of a brain up here, more than my little pea brain back here. And so he does really well for about a week. And he says good morning, and he says good afternoon and good night, and not a foul word out of his mouth until the following Saturday. And he wakes up and he hops over across his little perch to the seed tray, and he goes to get some food, and it's empty. And before he even thinks what he's doing, out comes a string of profanity about this empty seed tray and how mistreating he is. Well, before he finishes the sentence, the door of the cage is whipped open. Martha grabs him by the neck and pulls him out. She says, what did I tell you if you started using that language in my house? And she marches into the kitchen, opens the door of the freezer, and shoves the parrot in, shuts the door, and sets a timer for 10 minutes. Well, sure enough, 10 minutes later, she opens the freezer door, reaches in, grabs the parrot, pulls him out. She says, did you learn your lesson? Yes. Do you have any questions? Just one, he says, as he's shivering. She goes, what is it? Lady, what did the chicken do? Oh, there's your groaner for the week. Alrighty, on that note, have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. If you don't tune into the channel between now and Christmas, then I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. May you receive all the blessings you wish, and may Santa fill your stocking with something other than coal and a potato. But if he does, remember, not only did he provide you with something to eat, but a way to cook it. So even a cloud has a silver lining, right? Until then, I will see you later. I'm going to do a special little reading for children of all ages, and that'll be Mrs. Weigath and my Christmas card, so to speak, to you. Matt and Kay, I hope you watched this and learned a little about the movie Meet Me in St. Louis and Judy Garland's role in making the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas song into the hit that it became. Take care, my friends. God bless.